Hey everyone, welcome to the Buzzcast. We are joined today by a lot of folks. We have Anthony and we've got the great Pete Weber.
And I've just unmuted Pete, so hey Pete.
Okay, very good, very good. How are you guys doing?
Good, fantastic. I'm gonna duck out for a second. I'll be right back, guys. My stream's bad, so hold on 1 second. Right back.
Okay.
So the deal is, Harry and Meghan have left for LA. Is that presupposing what you wanted to do here was simulating old Kings games?
Yeah, Pete.
Absolutely.
Pete sent me a link of it looked like an intro to them playing King Classic games. Now you were there from, I think you said 78 to 81, Pete.
Right.
Okay, so you were there in that great Mario Lessard era.
Yeah, the great Mario Lessard era, the era where Rogie had just left as a free agent for Detroit.
Right.
And George McGuire said, we better get another goaltender. So he made a deal for Ronnie Graham from the Bruins. And all it ever cost the Kings was Raymond Borg.
Now, Pete, it sounds like you were there at the time. We talked about this the other day when Fatiou came out of the stands against the Kings. So you got to call that.
Yeah, matter of fact, he was sitting next to me in the broadcast booth preparing to be my intermission guest. He said, I better go down with the fellas.
Oh, my gosh. That's awesome.
And didn't he beat Paul Peugeot within an inch of his life?
Yeah, Paul Peugeot, in his first NHL start, got beaten within an inch of his life anyway. He gave up 8 goals to the Islanders that night.
So did he come back and be a guest after or no?
Nobody came up at the – let me see. I think that was the first intermission. He came up in the second intermission to apologize.
Oh, he did?
Yes.
Fantastic.
He's a good guy. I try and tell
Yes, he is.
Fatiou is really a good guy. I've gotten to know him a lot, but that's a great story.
I got to know him when he was scouting in the AHL.
Yeah.
That's when I got to meet Nick. It's always interesting to see Nick and Dave Brown not far from one another.
Right.
Yeah.
And one night I took a picture in our broadcast area here with Dave Brown, Stu Grimson. Let me see who else we had. Kevin Dineen was in scouting. Okay. And I think all told, with the 4 guys I had, we had
7,000 penalty minutes.
It was 7,600. I think it was. Yeah.
Now, Pete, it's funny because I was watching that game, the brawl game between the Rangers and the Kings, and I believe it was on WOR.
Yep.
In Buffalo, he had that on cable, and your Ranger broadcast compatriots, Jim Gordon and Bill,
the Big Whistle,
my favorite. They were my favorites. Yeah.
And I'll tell you, Gordon was had a very unusual style as a broadcaster, but I loved he shoots, he scores.
Yeah.
He was shot and a goal, and I loved that.
Yeah. Shot save,
yeah.
Rebound score.
Yeah.
Gordon wasn't like an over the top guy, but he could get you very excited. So the quick pre-show, Mike, even before we do the baseball thing, I just saw a couple minutes ago that for the WWE, Roman Reigns is not going to be in WrestleMania, and it's interesting because he recovered from leukemia this year, and so he's got an immune system problem, and so he doesn't want to be in the match. So he actually took himself out, and
smart.
That was smart to do that. But it just shows you how even something like that, where WWE is trying to control everything so they could at least have an event, they lost one of their headliners because of that.
And that's all it takes.
I recommend Randy Holt.
Randy Holt
as a substitute.
I was at the Flyers Randy Holt game.
You go.
I was at who else was in that fight?
Well, there were any number of participants, but Randy Holt essentially was going after Ken Linsman most of the time.
Right.
So Mel Bridgman stepped in. Paul Holmgren stepped in.
Who was the defenseman that played at the Kings at that point and then played for the Flyers later on? That was in that fight. Shoot, can't think of him.
Jay Wells?
No.
Jay was not there yet. He was drafted that summer.
It was like a short name, like Fox. It was
not Frank Bathe.
No.
No.
He was in that fight though. He was a king, but I was definitely at that one. I was a kid, and I remember my parents were like horrified at what was happening on the ice, and I was just like, "This is great! You know, this is hockey. This is what it's supposed to be about."
It was only a 4-hour broadcast, guys. And there was no overtime. We went on the air at 7. We were off at 11.
There you go. Easy day's work. Now, the other subject, Pete will like this. It's amazing to me how now the Major League Baseball Players Association runs that sport. They run it. Forget the commissioner, forget the owner. The players run it, and they proved it today by basically saying that anybody this year will not lose service time in the league. So if there's no league this year, someone like JT Realmuto, who now the Phillies would have to renegotiate with and would be a free agent at the end of this non-season. Yeah. I just found that to be unbelievably weird that they could not possibly not play a season. All they did was go through spring training, and they basically get a year's worth of service. Pete, what's your thought first?
Well, we all know how arduous spring training can be. We'll hear things like, "Oh, let me crack my knuckles, get things going here." That would be a warm up for Tim Wakefield, by the way.
Yeah,
I think it's ridiculous that would happen. I understand that they were standing by and at the ready to go, but they never did go. Now in the NHL, we got started, and then we got our pause on 10 days ago or so.
Yeah.
But baseball, you're absolutely right about them running things. If the Players Association weren't running things, there would have been any number of suspensions, fines, and so on handed down several weeks ago to the Houston Astros players.
Yeah, and Boston. The Boston thing is still pending, guys.
Yeah.
Like that. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Ant, what's your thought, Ant, as a Phillies fan now? You know, we hear they're negotiating.
The thing is fascinating, because that was already – it was an interesting, conversation, negotiation, literally $2.5 million difference, but this was how the system was set up. They're going to have to probably move pretty quick now, I think, with Realmuto. They're going to lose the year. If they're going to lose the year, and he comes up on free agency, because the catchers that are in the system, the closest one right now that would be considered, that I would consider to be a major league starter, is in Reading. So I think it'd be too much of a jump, maybe in a year or so. I think they're probably going to have to get this contract done probably sooner than they would like. Now, again, they won't have distractions or anything, but again, JT will be obviously a year older by if they don't have a season.
Trying to bring back Darren Dalton and his wife on the outfield fence.
Oh boy.
Yeah, just think, Pete, by the time we actually have baseball, the Yankees might actually be healthy.
Yes.
Yeah, they won't.
And who would have thought that?
There you go.
They won't be. Something else will happen.
Of course.
That's perfect. That's perfect.
All right, Eck, we're good.
All right, yeah. So I am simulating today just for fun. Like I'm over here. I'm doing the LA. Let me try to show you guys a little bit more.
We can see
the LA Kings Nashville Predators game
okay.
of the all-time players. And these are like the quick. These are just sort of. I have not created most of the players that are on there. Like the players who didn't contractually agree to EA Sports are not in here yet.
Right.
But I will create them eventually. But it is kind of fun. I got my favorite Predators uniforms were these, which might be hard to tell, but this is the really super heavyweight one that was
the mustard.
The mustard ones. Yeah, they were my favorite Predators ones. And the Preds just scored there to open the scoring.
Those mustard uniforms, so
was that John Scott scoring?
What was that? Sorry?
Was that John Scott scoring?
That would be Philip Forsberg who just scored that goal.
There you go.
Very similar players.
Yeah, Babe Ruth could eat hot dogs in those jerseys and not even worry about getting any stains on it.
Right.
Well, he could do that. And we had to buy an extra set of glove dryers because the guys sweat so heavily in those uniforms. I mean, everybody looked like Ray Borg.
I know. I have one of them, and they're like triple layered or something. They're crazy.
It's like the George Costanza Yankee uniforms.
To create that color, they had to do that.
They had to do that. It's nuts. I mean, it is like
in order to do it. Interesting.
If you're ever playing, if I ever play outside in the winter, that's my jersey. Like that's that's the one I'm throwing on top.
That should have been in Dallas. Yep.
Oh yeah, that's nuts because that is if it's that cold, that is my jersey.
I didn't know that. I did not know that.
Oh yeah. All right, let's actually do the introductions here, and then we'll introduce Pete. So we'll all do our thing, and then I'll introduce Pete. All right, ready? It's the 27th. Last I checked. All right, here we go. Friday, Thursday, Wednesday. Who knows? The hockey world. It is Friday, March 27th, 2020.
I'm Michael Ajone.
I'm Anthony Mangione.
I'm Russ Cohen. It's hot in here. I got to wave myself.
Your bucks.
Thank you.
Some books if you didn't know.
Chill.
I'm Eklund, and you're watching Hockey Buzzcast on HockeyBuzz.com. This is the podcast that comes to you every Monday through Friday at this time to fill you in on the comings and goings in the hockey world. We are joined by the great and my favorite sports announcer of all time, Mr. Peter Weber. How are you?
I'm doing great, even better now after that introduction. How could I not be?
Well, not only are you the greatest sports announcer, you're also the Bachelor, right? I mean, that much. How much? If you guys, I know these guys don't watch The Bachelor, but The Bachelor this past season, which my daughter watches religiously, his name was Pete Weber.
Yeah. And I got that when that was announced, I got like 115 texts from Josh Cooper and his buddies out on the West Coast. So they're just ecstatic about this and wondering how Claudia was putting up with it.
Well, it's the funniest thing. I mean, I don't know if you do watch it at all, Pete.
No.
Yeah. I'm forced.
You're the only one, Nick.
I'm forced to. I mean, I have to admit I have my secret.
You could walk out of the room. You're not forced to.
No, you're right. I could, but I have grown because they're on so often. I've grown.
It's a vortex.
I enjoy them. I enjoy mocking the people on them. I have a good time. I Mystery Science Theater the entire thing, and I have a blast with it. So I enjoy the Bachelor thing, and others, and other reality shows too. But anyway, moving past that.
Yeah, please quickly.
So, one of the things we're going to talk about. So I've been simulating these games, and my latest thing I'm trying to simulate is the all-time Nashville Predators team.
Okay.
To go up against. I'm thinking the all-time. Sorry, and I wanted your opinion on this, Pete. Who is the actual biggest Predators rival?
It still feels, though it's not that we've changed the divisions, but it still feels when we meet like it's Detroit.
That's what I thought.
It still feels that way.
Yeah.
And when people talk about their fondest Predators memories, among the top of them are an 8-0 victory over Detroit here, and then the handshake line at the end of the 2012 playoffs with that passing of the torch handshake between Nick Lidstrom and Shea Weber.
Yeah. I mean when I remember when I first went down to Nashville when they were in the same division, I went to actually the first game I went to was a Red Wings game down there, and it was awesome. I mean, the atmosphere was awesome, just incredible, and it makes sense. I was wondering if I guess coming up, with a bullet would be like, I guess a Winnipeg, right? Maybe perhaps.
And Chicago,
right? Yeah, that would make sense too. So it's funny how many. So I guess I'm gonna end up simulating a Detroit Nashville game because I'm doing all the rivalries the first time around as like an exhibition type thing. I have the Red Wings already set up, so I'll have to do the Predators, and some of the guys I'm going to have to create today. We're going to find out because one of the guys who's not on here. So I'm going to do my top two goalies in Predators history is tricky. It's tricky, but I went. This is where I'll start.
Is it really tricky? I think it's a slam dunk.
Yeah, you took Carter Hutton and UC Saros.
All right, now I like Carter Hutton. People always I think it's pretty much a slam dunk. And that would be Pekka Rinne and Thomas Vakuun.
Yeah, I don't think there was any other question.
All right, so that's pretty easy. But then when you get to defense, though, it gets a little hard. I mean,
it does.
This is a organization that has drafted defensemen incredibly well. And now here's the parameters, because it always matters. Parameters, of course, are everything when you take greatest of, best of, or anything like that. They have to have played at least 100 games in the uniform, which is not a lot.
No.
So
Peter Forsberg doesn't meet that criteria.
Right. He's at 66 games. They have to play at least 100 games. They also have to have you're also judging them based on how they were as a Predator. So how they were there. So that's like Peter Forsberg again. He was good. He was a very good Predator. Obviously, he might make the list, but it's still a tough thing to put on there.
He's not making the list. Come on,
he's not making this list. No, he's not.
I'm just bringing it along, Ak. What are you doing?
Positions on forward don't matter. Left wing, right wing, center. We're pretending that all these guys are showing up at your camp in their prime shape.
Yep.
And they are what they are, and you're not gonna keep a left wing to knock off like a Philip Forsberg or whatever. You're gonna definitely have your best 12 forwards, and you're gonna put them in their position. So that's the rules for it. So defense, top two defense, I think are pretty easy.
Batman and Robin.
Yeah.
Well, as they were called here, Shea Weber and Roman Josi.
Shea Weber and Roman Josi, right? That's got to be it. So that was Batman. I didn't know that was their nickname there, actually.
Yeah.
I didn't know they had Batman and Robin there. Okay, so then after that, it gets a little interesting because
not really.
Well, I'm going with Kimmo Timonen.
Okay.
And Ryan, 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 Ryan,
Good ones.
I think that's pretty solid.
Yeah.
I didn't know they All right, and then sixth up, I have so the last two are where it gets. I got two more, so this is where it gets trickier. I think I've got Ryan Ellis, and
Well, there's Ekholm, there's Seth Jones, there's Dan Hamhuis.
Right.
How many total games did Jones have?
Jones had 199 games there.
He was there a good bit, before he got moved to Columbus. Yeah.
There's PK.
There's PK Subban, yeah. So, I mean, do we think that Ryan Ellis is the? What do you think, Pete? Who do you think the next two are?
I think Ryan Ellis has to be, of course, that number 5 guy.
Yeah.
And number 6, you know who paired with Kimmo Timonen on the shutdown pair at that period of time was a guy you'd never think of that was an ex-Flyer, Mark Eaton.
Mark Eaton, that's right. I remember he had a big role in Nashville. I do remember that.
Yeah.
He was really good for those teams. I was kind of surprised with his stats in Nashville. He played 300 games there. Was Marek Zidlitsky?
Yes.
Yeah, Zidlitsky. I remember.
He was there a while, yeah.
Now, we actually there's a number of people there with his number because he would change the pronunciation of his name with each camp. And after he came in, so he started out as Marek Zidlicki. He then became Marek Zidlitsky. And then just no more Zid, but Marek Zidlicki.
Could I have $1 for every time the name Cabrera or Cabriolet was pronounced differently?
Now I'm going to give you the guy. Sorry, I'm going to give you the guy that I would put in there as the 6th.
Okay,
it would be Dan Hamhuis.
Yeah. That's a good one. I mean, it's a tough one to actually argue with. I think
a guy that left and then came back.
Right. He had 2 runs there.
Yeah.
Although Ekholm is so much better than people give him credit for, too.
I know, but Hamhuis played a lot of games. He's also an offensive guy.
Yeah. And Hamhuis was the Flyer for a whisper of time.
Yeah, for 12 seconds.
Right.
Was it that long?
Barely spoken of, and then traded.
How many times did the Predators trade Ryan Parent to the Flyers?
Oh, yeah.
Another one.
Yeah. Parent was at least.
Yep. And of course, Seth Jones did play 199 games as a Predator.
Yeah, but Hamhuis played 600. Like, come on.
Yeah, but who was at their best as a Predator?
Those were Seth Jones' formative years, and Hamhuis, I think, was in his prime. Now his prime extended to his tenure in Vancouver, and now he's the grizzled veteran. But I would have to say that his prime, he was in Nashville when he was in his prime. So I would go Hamhuis.
All right.
Back in the days when you could still nail a guy with a hip check.
There you go.
How about Greg Zanin? There's a good name too, right? He was another.
Greg Zanin, he and Dan Ellis both went to Nebraska Omaha.
Right.
And we had Greg Zanin mic'd up one night and didn't realize when we played it back that he had come up with a very special sort of expression that made it to the air that neither Terry Crisp nor myself could hear when it was replayed. And then they said immediately, please, when we come back on camera, please apologize. I'm going to apologize for what? I had to come home that night and turn up the volume on my DVR so I could hear it. But when I did it, that was pretty clear.
Well, you can say it on this show, Pete. Go ahead.
And we had Cody Franzen too. Yeah, Cody Franzen.
It was PHUQUINGA.
Got it. Perfect. Checking out the all-time plus-minus.
Wait. Just no Cody Franzen.
I know. I just brought that up for your benefit, Mike.
Yeah, thank you, because that's a reference to Game 7, 4-1. Thank you very much. And no Kevin Kline, and we're not talking about the actor from A Fish Called Wanda.
Right.
No. And Kevin was a darn good player here.
Yes, he was.
Really was.
That was that 2003 draft where the Predators got more than 2/3 of their defense corps for a number of years.
Yeah. Kevin Kline was a mensch. I did a book signing with him when he was with the Rangers, and he's a great guy. Like
is he ever?
He's a fun guy. Like fans loved him.
That's pretty. There's one. So when I was looking at the plus minus for Predators defensemen, it was really interesting. It really was interesting who was leading and by how much. Because the guy who's leading it almost has lapped the group, and that is Ryan Ellis at plus 113 career-wise. Mm-hmm. The next closest is Ekholm at plus 71 and Yossi at plus 66, Weber at plus 48. So, yeah, I mean, Ellis is way up there.
Makes you really appreciate that one season by Bobby Orr, doesn't it?
Yeah, I know. That's for sure. So,
I mean, Ellis was great in juniors. It took him a little while because there really wasn't a spot for him in Nashville. I don't think it was ever based on his talent.
No.
And look, he did have to learn how to play a little better in his own end. There's no question. But he was always supremely talented.
How much time do you have in Milwaukee? Ellis? I'm trying to remember because I thought he was there for a little longer than because of the.
I want to say 2 years, but I'll look it up.
I thought it was supposed to
I got it.
2.5 or something.
We got to get Aaron Sims on here, the voice of the Admirals.
He was there for only 61 games from 2011 to 2013.
Yeah, I'm sure X going to push for Andy Delmore too. But can we move on to forwards?
No, Delmore did do pretty well for the Predators, but I'm not going to push for him.
I have to include in the top 12 one of my favorite names.
Wait a second. I do have to say one thing about Andy Delmore because they did fix it. They
Of
did
course you did.
Sorry, I apologize. It's a quarantine show, so I'm allowed to interrupt you like that. All right, here's the deal. So,
Wow.
at the Franklin Institute, okay, and this still exists, and they still have not fixed it. I have tried to correct this. There is an area where they have the Franklin Institute's like a cool place in Philly where you can go as science museum, right? And they have a sports section there where you can see all, you learn about gravity when you throw balls or how you can jump or different things like that. Pulleys, levies, levers, stuff like that. And then there's a section for Philadelphia sports teams where they have Mike Schmidt's baseball glove, and then they have Allen Iverson's jersey, and
His
then
practice jersey, I hope.
right. Yes, probably. And then Andy Delmore's skates, and it still exists in Philly like that right now.
We had Andy here at the start of the season. We had an alumni get together, and there he is. He's coaching in the ECHL, and talking with him quite a bit. And who is he coaching, or it was coaching last year? Kirk Gibson's son, who had played defense at Michigan State.
That's crazy. That's crazy. So I told the Flyers about this, and I told Sean Tilger, I told Zach Hill, I'm like, you got to get something better in there for the Flyers. Like, come on, nothing against Andy Delmore, but Yzerman and Mike Schmidt, and
he was a fast skater though. Come on, let's get them.
He was a great skater.
How about Bobby Clark's stick? Preferably the one that he broke Valerie Harlamov's ankle.
There you go.
Yeah, that would be a good one. All iron.
That's much better. Much better.
Now,
all right, so
I have to say,
go ahead, Mike. I interrupted you. Go.
No,
go.
For this guy would not belong in the top 12 forwards, but just to have Pete announce his name is a former Chicago Blackhawk, Sergei Krivokrasov.
That's what we knew. The franchise was making inroads here. He was here the first 2 years, and we're downstairs where fans would wait for autographs, and all of a sudden I heard in this deeply Southern accent, "Hey, Sergei, how about an autograph?" I was looking around for Jethro Bodine, and I didn't see him.
That's fantastic. Oh my gosh. All right. So the Predators scoring. Okay. This is when I was doing the I put the Kings up, their all time, just roughly on what they have here, right? And I put the Predators scoring does, shooting falls far below any team I've done so far as far as all time, which makes sense. I've done the all time Oilers, the all time Canadians. Obviously, they're going to fall behind that, and fall behind the Kings all time too. But to me, and even though I only played 164 games there, I think it starts and ends with Paul Kariya, right?
Without question.
Yeah, I mean,
he's a much better number 9 than Darren Turcotte.
Yeah.
Hey, don't rip Darren Turcotte.
I'm not ripping. I'm just saying.
I think, I guess not enough games to get his number retired. But for what he meant for the franchise, it almost should be.
You're coming out of the lockout in 2005.
Yeah.
And he picks the Predators to sign with.
Right.
And has Don Basley called David Poyle.
That and how big that was just like, I remember that whole scene when it went down in Nashville. It's just so really, really amazing. So we're putting him on this team for sure. And he didn't, by the way, he did not agree to the EA Sports thing. So he didn't? Oh, he didn't. So he's not on here. So I have to create a Paul Kariya thing.
Is he on the EA surfing?
Yeah, probably the ping pong tournament. Yeah, maybe, maybe.
Well, considering how difficult it was to try. He finally it was self-isolation for how long in terms of for Paul. So it's not surprising that he, didn't necessarily put his name out there for. Yeah,
he's not on here.
I got to read Timo Solani's book about how hard he worked to convince Paul to come out for his jersey retirement.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, it's really interesting how he just when you were interviewing him at the time when he was on the Predators, did you get the idea ever that this might be how he would become reclusive like this?
He was somewhat reclusive at that point in time.
Yeah.
But then friends of mine came down from Vancouver, and it turned out the lady had been one of his classmates in school, and she brought a yearbook down, And he came out and looked at that and was immersed in it for it seemed like 30 minutes outside the dressing room. He just couldn't stop looking at it. Then he goes to one page and he goes, hey, here's my dad. He taught math at the time.
Wow. Well, that's interesting.
Yeah.
So Paul's the only of all the Predators. Paul's the closest to a point per game. He's at 0.982 per game.
Right. And
the next closest after that is another guy I think that belongs on this list, which would be Jason Arnott.
Yes.
0.833.
Yeah.
Arnott was really, really a good
I
Predator.
hear the rest of the list before I agree with Arnott.
Okay, all right, and then you go to
Well, how about the two guys that were traded for each other?
Yeah, like Forsberg and Erat.
Yeah,
I mean,
both of them belong on.
Well,
there.
this Forsberg has to go on there.
Yeah, right. Philip Forsberg is definitely there. Erat, I'd say as well, right? I mean, he was very. I mean, and these are guys who played a bunch of games too. And then the guy who actually the third leading point per game guy and played 317 games. Who do you think that would be, Pete?
Well, I had the list up, so I can't talk.
You got the list up.
J.P. Dumont.
Yeah, that's where I would go.
No, he is actually number 9 in points per game for the Preds.
Okay,
but this guy has played in more teams than we can possibly imagine.
Well, we only have an hour, actually.
No,
Mike Sillinger? Oh, Steve Sullivan. Okay.
Steve Sullivan, right? Yeah. So I'm just saying, I think
Steve Sullivan, who the Maple Leafs placed on waivers because they acquired that fantastic forward from the Boston Bruins, the great and wonderful Dmitry Kristich.
Yep.
There you go.
And then they walked away from an arbitration award, correct?
It's like you're still leaving off like the big names that were associated with the Predators. But go ahead.
I mean, the big names.
The number one name, like if you just say David Legwan, it goes right back to Nashville Predators. Like he was the face of the Predators.
Oh no, Legwan is the closest playing 1,000 games as a Predator.
See, I remember his career with the Detroit Red Wings.
No, I don't. He's a piece of Predator.
We haven't talked yet about the guy who really was the leader out of the wilderness in the early years, and that's Cliff Ronning.
Ronning. I was about to get to him. Yep, I think that he definitely belongs on this list. He had a great career in Vancouver too, but he was really a heck of a player there.
Scotty
Walker.
Mm-hmm.
I was thinking, and it's when you go back to like Scott Hartnell.
Yes.
I think you could put Hartnell before someone like Walker. That's for sure.
Oh yeah.
I definitely put him before.
Yeah, I would lean that direction. Yeah.
Greg Johnson. Here's another one who had
Johnny. Yeah.
These aren't big time scorers.
This was tough last summer with him.
Oh yeah.
I mean, when he left this earth, that was a difficult time.
Yeah, that was really hard.
mean, certainly you could find a spot for Mike Fisher. I mean,
I think Mike Fisher.
I was gonna say Mr. Carrie Underwood definitely.
No, I think Fisher's a definite. The question then comes.
I'd rather call her Carrie Fisher. they get confused with Star Wars.
The question then gets down to a guy like Ryan Johansson, right? Who's got.
There's no question.
351 games.
Yeah, you put him in.
You guys know I'm not a fan.
As much as you hate him, we know.
And I'm nothing again. I just want more out of the guy.
But he's been a pioneer. He helped us get rid of those games where I had to call the man who was checking him Johansson. Finally, Marcus Johansson changed his pronunciation to Johansson, so I don't have to worry like I did in the old days when the Predators played the Coyotes. We have Kimmo Timonen out on the ice the same time as Teppo Numminen and Ossi Vananen. I mean, I felt like I was the stutter king.
Well, this is, and I referenced this before, Pete, but this is the thing that's annoying. I actually talked. I talked to Joe Bowen in Toronto once. Everybody was having a conversation. You had the two brothers, Thomas and Frantisek.
Yes.
Frantisek called himself Caberla,
right?
And Thomas called himself Caberlet,
right?
I mean, can you agree? Like, can you?
No, they agreed. They agreed to mess with you guys.
Yeah, they should have gotten Richard Dawson in here for Family Feud.
If we did, he'd be kissing everybody.
There's two other guys that were traded for each other that are interesting names. Patrick Hornquist and James Neal, right?
Yes.
Hornquist played 363 games for the Preds.
I think Hornquist over Neal, personally, for me.
Hornquist was the Predators' version, and it was a little bit of a reverse on Thomas Holmquist. Holmquist backed into the opposing goaltenders. Hornquist was face first.
Yeah, he ran.
So true.
Yeah, no, Hornquist was he was a big. I mean, it's been interesting because when you think of all those Predators teams they had a lot of great teams.
Now, could we give an honorable mention to the career Nashville Predators penalty leader, and that's Jordan Tutu with 725.
He was beloved. I'm sure Pete will tell you. He was.
Oh yeah, I mean, when one of the biggest fundraisers the foundation ever had was selling tutu whistles. So the fans, when they saw Jordan jump on the ice, would blow those. So the problem was he couldn't catch anybody unawares because they all had their warning that he was out there. So Lord knows how many more penalty minutes he could have had it not been for those darn tutu whistles.
Oh, and everybody was ready. I mean, they were waiting. I was there for one of those, and that was phenomenal. That was really phenomenal. That was awesome. I mean, so it's a tough 12, guys. It's a really tough 12. Like I've gone back and forth on how to do this. I mean,
well, I mean, let's just go down the list quickly, and I mean, Legwand is a definite.
Yeah, Legwand, Erat,
Forsberg.
That's 3, right? And then
Craig Smith.
How many numbers do we have up now? He's got to be considered.
He's got to be. We'll keep him on the
in the honorable mention
order there. Mike Fisher. I'm going to go Mike Fisher.
Sure.
Hornquist, Johansson. So that's 6.
Steve Sullivan.
Sullivan 7, right?
Oh yeah.
JP Dumont.
We got Korea, right? You just
I think you got to include Dumont.
And you have Korea.
And you have Korea. That's 9.
Arnott.
Johansson.
We already said Johansson.
Patrick Cote.
Led
the league in majors the Predators' first season.
Gotta have that guy on the 4th line.
And I think Ronning is after that.
There you go.
So I think that's your 12. I think, and then that's 11.
That's 12. That's 12.
Oh, that's 12. Okay, there it is. All right, we got it.
We've omitted Victor Arvidsson.
It's a good team.
Arby.
They're not going to beat the Canadians or the Rangers or the Leafs or the Red Wings, but it's a decent team.
Will they beat the Japanese team that you played yesterday?
You're beating the all-time Kings 3-0. I'll tell you that right now.
Are they?
Well, wait a second. What's the all-time Kings? If Lassard's in goal, then that's the reason why. Or Doug?
No, it's Rogie Vachon.
Oh my God!
Whoa!
No, but you know what? The Kings are soft. That's probably what their problem is.
The Kings are soft.
We will need to discuss the composition of your roster.
Are we going?
I'm going to read you. I'm going to go in here and read you the Kings.
Yeah, I want to hear the Kings.
Yeah, I want to hear the Kings, and we can rip it.
Because this is a pretty good lineup here. I'm going to read it to you, and we'll get it.
Who are the 2 goalies?
I'm going to quit out of this game 1 second. Let me quit out of this game, and then I will go. I'm going to go right to the roster for the Kings. The 2 goalies are Vachon and Quick.
Okay,
that's fine.
Yeah,
I think that's pretty right.
Problems there.
They're actually ranked the same by these guys. How's
that possible?
Yeah, I mean, who would you put as your starter?
Quick is ranked higher than Vachon.
Yeah, I would think that I would be going.
Vachon was a really good goalie, but he didn't have the athleticism that Quick has.
I don't think any goaltenders did.
Right.
Yeah, like I think Quick's your guy. Quick one obviously won it.
If you wanted, who looks better in a Speedo, then we could talk. Then it's probably Rogie.
There we go.
I never met Vachon.
A Speedo with a cigar.
Right.
I never met Rogie Vachon.
Don't think I made that up.
My wife at a dinner once asked Rogie if he felt he was the real life model for Denny Lemieux in Slapshot. I got sprayed with coffee right away.
All right.
Yeah.
All right, so here's the lines that they put up together with what they have here.
Do the defense first.
Okay, we'll start with the defense. Okay, so defense, Larry Robinson and Drew Doughty.
Larry Robinson.
He played quite a few games there.
He did.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
it's fine, Mike.
He did. He was very good there.
Let's see what honorable mentions are once we get to there, and then
Steve Duchesne and Rob Blake.
Okay,
that's good.
Yeah,
and then Howell and Mitchell.
Harry Howell and Mitchell. That's fine.
You know Drew Doughty?
Who said Doughty?
You said Doughty.
Doughty, yeah.
Okay, Steve Duchesne. Mark Hardy might be.
Who are you gonna put Mark Hardy over? Harry Howell, really?
Well, how's
he still had good years with the Kings, Mike. He was there when they were not a good team.
I mean,
he was their best defenseman by far.
Yes, he was.
Okay, I'll grant that. But Robinson, I don't remember him having great years with the Kings.
Oh, he did. Believe me, he did.
I
No,
bet
he did.
Larry Murphy might be somebody that you would.
Larry Murphy's too. Yeah, I thought about it. He played 242 games with the Kings.
Yeah.
Second leading point per game guy. And
Who's he going to replace?
And that, yeah, but who's he going to replace? That's the thing.
I would have Larry Murphy and Bob Murdoch as considerations.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean,
did I ever tell you the story about when the night George McGuire, the general manager, called Bob Miller and me in before a game and asked us not to mention Bob Murdoch's name on the air?
Really?
Why?
Well, at that point in time, Jack Kent Cook was running the team by remote from his ranch in Vegas.
Right.
And Bob was getting close to his incentive bonuses. And George McGuire didn't want Cook listening in Vegas to hear Bob Murdoch's name on the air. So all he was asking us to do was to not name a guy who played first power play, first penalty kill, and a regular shift. Who's that puck going over to there, Bob, on the right side? I can't see, Pete. Damned if I know. So we finally told George, no, we got to mention his name. He's playing. It's not as if you got him scratched and he's not out there.
You should have told Jack Kent Cook to stick to the Redskins.
That is crazy.
He was beginning to do so, and that was the story he told me about George Allen. I gave him an unlimited budget to build Redskins Park, and by God, he exceeded it.
Oh my God! The defense
was a big personality. I could see
in that big fight, and also played for the Flyers was Jay Wells. That's it.
Yes,
yeah. He played for everybody. He played for the Rangers Stanley Cup team too. Like
I said, Jay Wells. No,
and he was the man to date Jeannie Buss.
Really?
Yes.
Before Phil Jackson, I guess.
Oh yeah.
Did not know that.
Now, Pete, I'd like to know what kind of blackmail material Scotty Bowman had on George McGuire to get him to trade a one-legged Rick Martin for a first-round pick that turned out to be Phil Housley. I think that was Phil Housley.
No, actually.
Oh, that was Barrasso. That was Barrasso.
Tom Barrasso. Yeah.
And then Jerry Korab wasn't over the hill, but he was still, they traded Jerry Korab for another first-round pick, and that was Housley.
Yes. And when Kong came out there, he almost had to undergo immediate surgery to break his foot so they could surgically reset everything. He came back and played effectively thereafter.
Yeah.
I was back in Buffalo 84, 85 when he came back, when he and Jim Schonfeld played for Scotty Bowman in his last years as a Sabres coach.
Right. Yeah, when Schonfeld had that neck collar because he
right.
Yeah. Well, let me ask Pete this question. It has nothing to do with this all-time team.
Yeah.
But when I interviewed Dave Taylor once, why did he call purple Forum blue? What is that about?
That was driven into our skulls by Jack Kent Cook. The colors of the teams, both the Lakers and the Kings, is Forum blue and gold. As a matter of fact, they still set you up when you decide not to go with paper utensils in the press lounge, the Chick Hearn press lounge, with Forum blue napkins.
But they're purple.
And Chick would say on the air, because he could get away with things with Jack Kent Cook that nobody else could. He'd go, folks, do not adjust your sets. That is purple and gold. The Lakers are wearing.
I just remembered I was very confused when Dave Taylor said that to me. I was like, I didn't get the joke, I
mean, I get the Lakers, but purple is actually a king color, isn't it? Like it's a color associated.
For royal blue, more of a royal blue dye. I think
yes. Yeah. So whatever those numbers they give those colors are now, like royal blue dye 176 or
right. Yeah. A couple of defensemen that we should mention, and one of them was really like defensive and played there for a long time, was Matthias Nordstrom.
Yes,
Nordstrom was really
captain
good
at one time.
A good defensive defenseman. He went there in the Gretzky trade from the Rangers.
Yeah, I mean,
you have to include a couple of the more modern day ones, even though they probably don't make the top six, and that's Alec Martinez and Muzzin. I think they really get an honorable mention at least.
I mean, a lot of the modern Kings, obviously, who won the Stanley Cup, are definitely this. I mean, a lot of these Kings team will be modern because those Stanley Cup teams were so dominant.
But we do have Deion, Taylor, and Simmer, correct?
Yes.
Here's the forwards that they have.
Let's hear it.
These are the forwards that they have. We can change these, of course. The first line they have is Gretzky, Robitaille, and Curry.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
Then
how many games did Curry play in it?
It doesn't matter. It's Jari Curry. It's
more than 100 games for sure.
All right. 300.
Next is Deion, Taylor, and Simmer.
Okay. Well, at least they all signed up. That's good.
Yep. Then Nichols,
Mm-hmm.
Kopitar,
Right.
and Palfi.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's
right.
good.
Yeah, Ziggy. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, Ziggy's good there.
No complaints so far.
Now, Palfi didn't sign up for it, but I created a Palfi for the Islanders,
Well,
so we
that's
have
good.
Palfi on here. And then the fourth line, which I think we'll definitely have discussions here. Butch Goring, that's a pretty good name.
Okay.
But then Jeff Carter and Dustin Brown.
I have no problem with Brown. Carter.
No problem with Brown. I don't know about Carter. I know he won a cup there, but
Like couple cups. So
couple
Yeah.
cups, but still.
I
No
don't.
problem.
It's a tough. That's interesting. But
I'll give you
I'm
a
okay
couple.
with it.
I'll give you a couple options.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Jimmy Fox.
Yep.
Almost
Yeah,
Fox is
almost
probably
500
not gonna be-
points in 578 games. Mike Murphy.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Bob Berry had a pretty decent career with the Kings. Tony Granato had 305 points in 380 games.
Granato's a good name. You know, Thomas Sandstrom. Thomas Sandstrom, who with the Kings. I mean,
Yeah. He had over a point per game because he played with Gretzky.
yeah.
Yeah. He is more thought of as a Ranger, but he did play great with the Kings too. He did.
Yeah.
And Jimmy Carson was a point per game player.
Mhm.
219 games, 219 points.
And without him, they probably don't get to make the Gretzky trade.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
True. That's true.
So
That might be-
I think I would go with Carson over Carter.
Yeah, I think I would too, but I don't know. Ant didn't think so, so I'm not sure.
With that name kind of added into the mix there, certainly it's food for thought. It's tough. It'd be a coin flip for me.
I mean, that team is so good. Butch Goring is on the fourth line, guys.
I know, think
got
about
a text.
Exactly.
I got a text from Alex Frolov saying, "What about me?"
the Predators were shutting this team out in the simulation in halfway through the third period.
Joseph Stumple sent a text in German.
How about that thing that came out on Twitter last night? The German government urging all of their citizens who were in the United States to get the heck back across the ocean.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, Angela Merkel's, I guess, she's had a fallout with our president, I guess.
Everyone has.
Yes.
Yeah, that's for sure. Yeah, well, when you look at Carter and Carson, they both played like roughly 500 games with this team.
No, Carson only played
Carson didn't play that many.
219 games.
Yeah.
Okay, Carson 219. Sorry,
I think that's the reason why I was leaning a little more towards Carter.
No,
than
but Fox
Carson.
played that many.
Carson
Fox,
20
Jimmy
games.
Fox.
Yeah,
He played 500 and something games.
yeah. You know, it's fun. I don't even remember. This is a name I'm sure you remember, Pete, but Juha Whitting.
You have eating, yeah.
Juha Whitting.
I don't remember him. I'll be honest.
Mid-70s Swedish winger.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, I've got a story just sent to me here from the Swedish sports paper Expressen from Gunnar Nordstrom, who said, "Okay, I sent you this article. Now have Philip Forsberg translate it for you." So and Philip is going to be very busy because it's about 4 pages.
Wow.
Oh man, I wanted to also give Pete our "What kind of hockey person are you?" test today.
Oh, there you go. That's good.
Which is which we've been doing, and we'll give it to Anthony at some point as well. But
There are no wrong answers, Pete. Just so you
there are
know.
no wrong answers, only wrong ideas. Here we go. So, so here we go. Ready, Pete?
Yeah.
What kind of hockey person are you? The city you grew up in.
Galesburg, Illinois.
Galesburg, Illinois.
And now, actually, I didn't grow up. I haven't grown up yet, but that's where I was raised.
There you go.
The city you were
Young
raised.
at heart.
All right. The NHL player who grew up closest to the town you grew up in.
Well, it would probably have to be young Manson,
Really? Okay.
defenseman. Yeah,
Josh Manson.
Josh.
Manson.
Yeah,
Okay.
It's
he's
hard.
born in the town and raised in Hinsdale, where my dad's
Not
office.
Charlie Manson, right?
No, not Charlie. No,
Okay.
Not Eddie Olchuk, because he's from Chicago. The Chicago.
he's from Chicago as well, but he's more north.
Okay.
I'm not going to ask you your favorite team or least favorite team because it's just not fair. But I will go.
You asked me that.
Well, my
You
favorite
can
team.
ask him as a kid who his favorite team.
All right.
was.
Okay. Your favorite. Yeah. Actually, as growing up, your favorite team.
Growing up, it was the Blackhawks.
Yeah,
I
that's
mean,
fair.
I was taken to Chicago Stadium many times as a kid, and that's why when the Predators started and our farm club was Milwaukee, I was elated that Lloyd Pettit was the owner of that club. So the guy I listened to all the time growing up was there telling me stories during
That's
training
great.
camp.
That's very cool. And so your least favorite team growing up was the Red Wings,
Oh yeah,
and you got to keep that going on. And you,
yes. I
NHL,
love the tradition.
NHL teams now, not the Predators, that you kind of secretly follow.
Well, because they were my first team, the Kings,
Okay.
and then the Sabres.
Okay. Yep. Your favorite hockey writer as a kid or in growing up, like basically.
I would have to say Red Fisher. And next would be Bob Verdi.
Nice. Good names. Your favorite hockey writer currently?
Favorite hockey writer. Now we don't know. We no longer know anybody's affiliations, but he is still on the masthead, and I'm going to go with Michael Farber.
Oh,
Yeah, Farber's great.
That's a good one. That's a really good one. The best hockey player of all time?
Number 4, Bobby Orr.
There you go.
You and Mike Algello.
You and Mike are on your own island.
Yeah, I like that.
Is this like Gilligan's Island?
Yeah,
Where's the professor,
exactly
Marianne?
what it's like.
I'll take Ginger.
I take Marianne. She lives here in Nashville.
Does she really?
Yeah.
Wow.
I think Tina Louise is dead, but I hope.
That's interesting.
I think she is too, Mike.
The hockey player you idolized as a kid would be Bobby Orr?
Well, actually, growing up where I did, it was Robert Marvin Hull.
Yeah, Bobby Hull. I can see it.
Bobby Hall. Sure. I'm sure the most famous hockey person you've met.
Whoa. In many ways, I guess it would have to be Vladislav Tretiak.
That's a good
That's
one.
a good one.
Yeah.
That's a
Matter
really
of fact, we Crispy and I spent a lot of time with him in the early years of this franchise when he was on the scene coach for the Blackhawks.
No.
And the reason Ed Belfour chose number 20.
Yep. Now, Pete, did he ever talk about getting pulled in the Miracle on Ice in 1980? Did he ever talk to you about that?
All he would do was shake his head so severely I was afraid I was going to induce whiplash.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
Your earliest hockey memory?
1961 Blackhawks Cup. When you thought that there would be so many more to come, and they didn't get back to the final again very quickly. And then in 1971, I'm overseas in Austria going to school and listening to the American Forces Network in Game 7. That night, we found out that Tony Esposito was truly nearsighted.
Oh, man, that's a really good throwback. Your least favorite hockey memory of all time?
Probably losing Game 6 of the Cup final in 2017 here in Nashville.
Yeah, that's up on my list too. The favorite game you personally attended?
I attended it. I was not working. I was in town with the Seattle Supersonics to play the Lakers the next night.
Mm-hmm.
But it was that game where this Darrell Evans guy scored an overtime on Grant Fuhr to complete the miracle on Manchester in
You're at
'82.
that game. Wow, that's
That's a
awesome.
good one.
That's awesome. I'll never forget that.
My ears still hurt. My ears still hurt.
Wow.
I was at the top of the lower section of the forum, and I can still hear the shrill screaming.
That's amazing. Oh man, what a game. The best hockey game you've ever watched on television or in general. I guess the best hockey game you've ever seen.
I guess off TV, it's got to be, I'll take any of the 3 games of the '87 Canada Cup final.
There you go. Yeah, I'm with you on that completely.
Yeah, if I was able to watch it, that'd have been great.
Now, if you played hockey, did you actually play hockey, Pete?
Just street hockey, so I know.
What position were you in street hockey?
Left wing goon.
What was your hockey number? If you had to give a number, for your jersey.
Let me be Paul Correa.
There you go, number 9. I like that.
But hold on. Now, this is where I have to interject. As a kid, you couldn't have been number 9, so who would you have been?
Yeah, you're right. I would go Charlie Simmer, number 11.
All right, very nice. The highest level of hockey you've ever played in street hockey. Did you play in a league?
We played in a league, but I don't know. I'd have to get Craig Button to look over old videos and see what level.
The NSHL, the National Street Hockey League. There you go.
Beautiful.
The original 30, yeah.
There you go.
And finally, one NHL rule that simply must be changed.
Instigator rule. Get rid of it.
Mike said
Stand
that.
after my own heart.
I think you might be a time traveled version of Mike in some ways, like
or a smarter version.
the instigator rule.
Yep, please just rid the sport of the instigator rules.
Rid it all together, right? That's interesting. So we've had that since we've been doing this test. Like the 3 that keep coming up are the 3 points for the 3-point games. Getting rid of that. That's a biggie. The trapezoid, which makes no sense to anyone. behind the net, and the instigator rule. Wow, that's interesting stuff. Really good, really good. Wow.
So I guess I'm a goon. I guess it comes right down to what kind of hockey person I am. I'm a goon.
There you go.
Goon. Excellent. That would be.
Let me ask you, because you have a vested interest, because you broadcast games, you want to do play-by-play, you love hockey like we do. What would your feelings be about doing playoff games in July and August? Like, there are some indications that is going to be the plan for the NHL.
I would welcome it. Absolutely welcome it. I mean, and I think my preparation for that were the 3 years I spent with Bob Miller, and we had Christmas games where it was 80 degrees outside, and walking into the Forum wishing we had been wearing shorts. I would welcome it.
Yeah, I mean, and I really hope it happens.
And besides, it's great now with no Olympic Games to dominate NBC.
Yeah,
I think we're set up for this beautifully.
I think it would be fantastic. Like, I think it would be a really interesting dynamic in the summer in a lot of ways. Like, for me, we spent our weekends down in the Jersey Shore. I think that would be fun to see what the Jersey Shore bars are like with hockey games on.
Yeah,
it's always baseball games, which is whatever.
What do you think of this? What do you think of if this works out as we hope that it will? Mm-hmm. That maybe in the future, to avoid the problems we have, make ice hockey part of the Summer Olympics as basketball is.
Yes.
So you don't worry about shutting down the NHL schedule.
I like that. That's a good rule to change. That would be really great.
I actually think Bettman approached the IOC about that years ago, and the IOC balked at it because it's not a. I mean, face it. Other than track and field, the centerpiece of the Summer Olympics is basketball.
Yeah.
There really is no centerpiece for the Winter Olympics other than ice dancing and figure skating. They need hockey, but up until recently, it didn't seem like there was any kind of give from the IOC to provide insurance or provide
transportation,
or even allowing the NHL to use the video. I mean, how many times did you see the goal? I don't particularly want to see the golden goal of Gretzky, of Crosby, but I'm sure the NHL wants to use it.
Sure.
I mean, Mike, I'm surprised you didn't mention bowling. Bowling was a Summer Olympic sport.
Ballroom dancing will be again.
I mean, part of me wants hockey to go back to how it was with just amateurs in the Olympics. Like, a part of me thinks that the Olympics and I like the World Cup of hockey concept a lot.
Yeah, I do too.
And I think that can go at the end of August. That can be there where we've had it, and let the Olympics be an amateur event again. Like that, I think the Olympics, to me, that. Really.
All right. Here's where the problem is. I'm with you. Like, mentally, I'm with you. But who is really an amateur anymore? Even guys in college have played on traveling teams. They played with USA Hockey for years. They've been going to all kinds of countries.
Right.
Like, are they really strictly amateur anymore? It's really hard to say.
Like, Russ, one of the greatest tournaments that we have is we already have it in the World Juniors tournament. Like, right at this time, that to me. If you make the age 23 and under for the Olympics or something like that, you could really fix a lot of that. Like, you would have as long as it was younger or 22 or I don't know, whatever you're going to make it. Like, the World Juniors is 20 and under, right?
Yeah, it's under 20.
Yes.
But under I love that tournament. I would have no problem with that tournament being the Olympic tournament.
Yeah, but that tournament in the year that they have the Olympics, if you follow those rules, then they can't have the World Junior tournament because they have one in December, and then 6 weeks later they're having it wherever the Olympics are. So, that's
be hard to just say every 4 years it's going to turn into this and then revert back to that. That's the problem.
Right.
I don't know. I mean, it feels like that's what they do in other sports, right? I mean. Isn't that kind of what they do in women's hockey, for example? They'll have
the women's hockey does run that way. That's fair.
But I don't think the IIHF is going to want to shut down the World Junior once every 4 years.
No, they won't.
They don't want to give that up. I mean, they do everything in concert with the IOC when it comes to the Olympics, but then you're just basically giving the IOC carte blanche to use these players one time every 4 years and make their money, and they have to shut down because
you don't think there's money that could be paid to get them.
But you know what? You just took away an entire TSN payday from them. Like, that's right. Do that.
Well, let's just stay tuned because I think the structure of the IOC is going to blow up shortly.
Yeah,
that could make it open season.
That's true.
Well, I mean, Pete, they've been talking about this for the last few years with the absolute cost overruns that happened in London, that happened in Sochi, that happened in Rio, about having the Summer Olympics and even the Winter Olympics in 3 venues and just rotating them once every 4 years. Like you have it in Calgary, have it in wherever, 3 different places and just rotate it
I think that's great. I actually like that because the problem is, like, the environmental impact of the Olympics is awful. And if you go back and look at a place from maybe even just 12 years ago, they're like wastelands. Most of those places are never used again. Yeah. And it's a complete waste. So I'm in favor of that, Mike.
Yeah, it doesn't even take that long. Look at Sarajevo, the rink where I was covering hockey and covering ice dancing. Then, because the refrigeration unit had to become a morgue.
True.
Yeah, well, yeah, I mean,
crazy. That's
in Lake Placid, what was it? Where some of the athletes stayed became a
prison.
A prison. So
yeah.
Yep. So yeah, there you go.
Oh my goodness.
But yeah, rotated one in Asia, one in Europe, one in North America, or one in in North America every 12 years. Just keep rotating it, and that denies the IOC their pleasures of free prostitutes and everything else that they get every.
I mean,
not necessarily.
Yeah, not necessarily. Right.
Here's the biggest thing. I used to look forward to watching the Olympics, both of them, all the time, most of the events.
I still do.
Now, how often do you really look forward to watching the Olympics?
I do. I completely do.
That's the real question. I don't think there's enough of you, Ek. That's the problem.
I think there are. I think there's way
too many of them.
NBC agrees with Ek.
No, I know.
Yeah, but there's a lot of money being put out there. And this is why I think that, because like covering hockey all the time is one thing. And then when hockey's in the Olympics, the amount of people that are just friends or like family people, stuff like that.
Forget about
hockey is so different. Like I remember the craziness of what's his name who scored all the penalty shots in Sochi.
TJ Oshie.
Right, yeah. TJ Oshie. Like I had people come out to me who don't know anything about hockey talking about TJ Oshie, like constantly. And I'm sure we all did. Everybody on this panel did. That was like the Olympics just bring out a whole nother level.
Right, but I'm not talking. Forget about hockey. I'm talking about like luge or biathlon or those things. Are you watching those from start to finish?
I am, because unfortunately I have to admit that we actually put on the Olympic channel here.
Okay. I don't think there's enough people that do that anymore. I think.
Come on, we know Ak runs the luge in his outdoor.
Yeah. I think the Olympics got propped up when HGTV came out, and there was a renewed interest. And I think the interest in the Olympics has faded.
I think the Olympics got propped up by the whole concept that you can watch any event when you want to now, like live. And the apps for the Olympics are phenomenal. Like they're incredible. Like you can literally pick any event at any time. And I do think that when you look at the summer versus winter Olympics, they're 2 very different animals.
Oh yeah.
The Summer Olympics, I mean, you have to put it in South America at times. Like there's things that you have to do, like that. The Winter Olympics, you can maybe get away with North America and Russia or whatever, and going back and forth or that kind of thing. But you can't get away with that, or once in Europe, once in Asia, once in North America. You could rotate it, but with the Summer Olympics, it's like it's a whole different ballgame. Like that, South America.
But countries now are not. I mean, Putin spent the equivalent of $20 billion in Sochi for something that was dismantled or destroyed within a couple years. I mean, it's not. Some of the stuff is some of the buildings aren't in existence anymore.
I think it's just the rink primarily where the KHL team plays, but I'm not sure how many of the other facilities are still there or how they're being used.
Right. So they spent that kind of money for temporary facilities.
No.
But it's their own money.
About how that great Olympic Stadium in Montreal. What the heck is that being used for?
Oh,
yeah.
Right.
Pete,
right.
It's like the Pan American Exposition in Buffalo at the beginning of the 20th century that they made out of plaster.
They're now putting a cap on the Big O on that piece of garbage, and they're going to continue to use it because they figured, well, it's more costly to knock it down, so we'll continue to use a place that leaks. That's great.
I'm still waiting for the statue of Vince Ferragamo to go up from his illustrious career there.
Is that right next to the statue of?
Listen, I was a Vince fan. Yeah. I
was too. I knew his brother in Southern California. Okay. Great high school coach.
I had high hope.
When everything went to hell.
He had a bad second half. That's it. He had a good first half.
Yep.
the Los Angeles Kings were my football team as a kid, so he was
The
my
Los Angeles Kings are not your football team.
What was that?
The Los
You
Angeles.
walked into that one.
He said the Los
Los
Angeles
Angeles
Kings.
Rams. Sorry.
There you go.
Yes,
I'm a hockey guy through and through.
his favorite defensive end was Fred Washer.
Yep.
Hey, Jack
That
Young
was the Samsung tandem, right? Fred
Yeah.
Washer and Fred Dryer.
Jack Youngblood was
And
unbelievable.
that is all the time we have for today.
Youngblood played on a broken leg. Go ahead. That's fine.
It's 3:00, kids. Pete, thank you so much for jumping on today. We really
Thank you, guys. Glad to do it and
Thanks,
love to
Pete.
reminisce. And since we got Butch Goring on the fourth line, my work is done.
Excellent.
There you go.
Fantastic. I will bring you in to call the simulated game when it happens.
Please let me do that.
That would be fun. And Anthony, as always, thank you so much for joining us as well. Remember, you can go to patreon.com/hockey to support the show. It would really, Mike, Russ, and I would definitely appreciate it.
We would.
And
If you want to donate the money you're getting from the federal government, please do.
Right. Just a small little bit. I'm a small business. So isn't the federal government supposed to be propping up small businesses? I got to figure out how I can get in.
Well,
on it.
somebody's going to want to buy it. Eck, which goaltender is that above your head? I can't see.
Okay, yes, this is Pelle Lindbergh,
Okay,
my favorite.
very good.
Yep, that's a painting I got a long time ago on the night they had the ceremony in Philly. So Pelle Lindbergh, yep,
Outstanding.
he's my favorite all-time player.
And then you have a dumb Muppet next to him.
That would be Beaker, and Beaker's not dumb, just misunderstood. Remember, without the buzz, folks, it is just hockey. We will talk to you soon.